Anyway, as my fervor and anti-Nazi perspective becomes more solidified than ever before, Politico has some different opinions, okay? Politico wrote an article saying, fighting against the USSR didn't necessarily make you a Nazi. Canada's Hunka scandal is a demonstration of how, when history is complicated, it can be a gift to propagandists who exploit the appeal of simplicity, which is a fucking psychotic thing to say. What the fuck is going on? Dude, it's done. I don't even want to read the rest of it. It's over. You are saying that a guy who volunteered to be a part of the foreigner brigade for the Waffen SS actually had a complicated relationship. You know what this is? This is you guys put women in video games, okay? And you went too far by putting women in video games. So now I'm a fucking Nazi, okay? Except, guess what? He literally was a Nazi, okay? Like, I mean, literally the closest you can get to being a Nazi without being a part of the party, okay? He volunteered. I don't know how to fucking, what? I don't know how to fucking go about this. I don't know how to, like, hello? You know, I'm no Stalinist or anything, but fucking holy shit, dude. Social fascism is so real. What the hell? Chill out, man. It's like, what are we doing here? What the fuck's going on? You're just actually, unironically, not even cutting a liberal at this point and a fascist is bleeding. You're just tickling a liberal and a fascist is laughing. How? Why is this written in a publication? What is going on? This is like Stormfront shit. In the case of Hunka, the mass outreach stems from his enlistment of one of the foreign legions of the Waffen SS. Oh my God, fighting Soviet forces on Germany's Eastern Front. And it's a demonstration of how, when history is complicated, it can be a gift to propagandists who exploit the appeal of simplicity. The history is complicated because fighting against the USSR at the time didn't necessarily make you a Nazi. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. During World War II, if you fought against the USSR, you aligned with the Nazis and you were literally a Nazi, okay? Not only that, but even if you were to say like, oh, the entire nationalist movement in Ukraine wasn't aligned with Nazis, even though, you know, that would still be somewhat historically revisionist unless you're like literally talking about some edge case that I don't even fucking know about. This guy doesn't even fit that bill, okay? Dude, we're talking straight up, like joining the Waffen SS, okay? I yelled too much. I got up and went to a different area in the room to fall asleep. As far as edge cases go, I guess the Japanese Imperials did also fight the USSR, but as you said, not this guy. Yeah, exactly. They were bad. Hello? What do you think? I'm a fucking fan of Imperial Japan? What? Bro, the Japanese were the Nazis on the other side of the fucking planet. If anything, they got away with so much shit, okay? Shouts out to the Americans who allowed them to do that. They were fucking insanely evil, you know what I mean? Like, insanely evil. Bro, the fucking Manchurian experiments, dude? What the fuck? God damn, those motherfuckers were psychotic monsters, okay? And here comes at the beginning of the World War II, USSR started siding with the Nazis. Really interesting. Appeasement also occurred with the West as well. I hope you know that. And it doesn't fucking matter. This is literally the same energy as, I guess you didn't know that the Democrats were the ones who are on the side of the Confederates. It's like, yeah, did nothing else happen, dude? In between then? That's really interesting. Let's not examine anything else that happened after that, okay? Everyone always goes, this is the new liberal fucking counter, which is so stupid. Just like, you don't have to be ahistorical about it, okay? You don't have to come across like a dumbass hog just so you can do the fuck the USSR thing. You could just say you don't like the USSR's existence, you don't like what Stalin did or whatever the fuck, and just keep it at that. You don't have to also literally turn around and engage in ahistorical nonsense, like as though the fucking World War II didn't happen. You know what I mean? Are you a fucking idiot? Are you stupid? Also, why are people still doubling down on this? Everyone involved in bringing that old guy to Parliament apologized already almost immediately after it happened. His dead discourse in Canada. Because I think there is a more important revisionism. There's a secondary reason for why people are still arguing this point, just like the reason why this guy is fucking hitting this take. Molotov-Ribbentrop is such an idiotic fucking take because the more famous thing that happened after that is what is important, okay? Just like the West also engaged in appeasement, nobody's gonna sit here and be like, remember when Americans also did that and that's it? Like nothing else happened? Like, what are we talking about? Everybody knows what happened. Watch Band of Brothers, okay? They were fucking pummeling Nazi skulls, okay? They were doing incredible things out there. Our boys were out there fucking, whew, paratrooping, dropping into France, liberating goddamn European countries left and right. You understand me? God, it was so good. I feel so passionate in my fucking heart every time. God, a Band of Brothers, what a show. What a fucking show. It gives me such a patriotic boner. What our boys did on the Western Front, okay, and what their boys did on the East. And together they were able to fucking rid the world of the Nazi scourge. Do you understand me? I wonder how many people Band of Brothers recruited for the U.S. Army. I literally would have joined. I'm telling you right now, if I was my age right now, because Band of Brothers came out 36 hours before 9/11. If I watched Band of Brothers, I'd be like, I'm enlisting. Where? I need to become a soldier. I will believe anything you tell me. First, you convince people the USSR was an equivalent evil to the Nazis. Then you can convince them that it was the greater evil. Then that the Nazis were a necessary evil. Then finally that the Nazis were good. Everyone who falls into this pipeline works to pull others to the level they're on, while themselves being pulled along to the next by the more advanced fascists. This is by design. And I do think that is what we are engaging in right now. This is why the never forget narrative is so fucking important. There is a reason for why we must not forget the Holocaust, so that we don't repeat those same mistakes. And this also plays along with it. Secretary Anthony Blinken, 82 years ago, the Nazis murdered 34,000 Jews at Babin Yar. Soviets buried this history, which today Putin's government manipulates to provide cover for Russia's abuses in Ukraine. The U.S. is committed to justice for Holocaust survivors and accountability for atrocities, which is, again, insane. Soviet prisoners of war were among the people who were massacred at Babin Yar. Just like another aspect of anti-Soviet revisionism that is ahistorical and literally Holocaust denial almost, or not almost, Holocaust denial, Holocaust revisionism, is the completely forgotten side of like the internal struggle in Germany leading up to the Nazi party seizing power and what they did. Like the first people that were in concentration camps were literally communists. People forget that. Or rather, they never learn that. They're rewriting history and they're going to get away with it. No matter how much we can call them out, the propaganda machine will keep churning until a critical mass of Americans believe this nonsense. I don't even know what to say anymore. I've covered the change in public opinion in France, specifically about who shouldered the greatest burden in World War II that led to the liberation of Europe. And, in the immediate aftermath, it was 57% USSR. In 1994, it was 25% USSR, 49% America. What happened between 1945 and 1994? The Cold War and a shit ton of, one, anti-Soviet propaganda, counter-revolutionary propaganda, but also what happened was the cultural imperialism of Hollywood that completely rewrote history. So that is the insidious part of that kind of coverage. Yeah, this kind of historical revisionism is occurring, and it's insidious, it's nefarious, it's really fucked up, and it's very odd. But history is complicated because fighting against the USSR at the time didn't necessarily make you a Nazi. Wrong. Just someone who had an excruciating choice over which of these two terror regimes to exist. There's nothing funnier than being a Ukrainian who sided with the Nazis when the Nazis openly said you were a dog and were killing your neighbors, and then they enlisted you to kill your neighbors, okay? And I don't mean just like Polish people, okay? But your Jewish neighbors, for example. So there is no two sides to that fucking coin. As a matter of fact, it's the one aspect of history is obviously so close to our contemporary history and our understanding of society that like there are still veterans, you know what I mean? Including the fucking Nazi that was, got a standing ovation in Canada. Why are Jewish and Holocaust remembrance groups letting stuff like this slip into the mainstream media now? Fuck no, they're not. They 100% are fucking attacking these people. Are you kidding me? No, they're not. This is one aspect that they 100% universally get mad over, which is understandable. The idea when you have, what is the number of Ukrainians that fought in the Red Army? I mean, I think it's millions of people. The idea that you will disrespect their sacrifice like this by propping up a fucking dude who literally decided to voluntarily join a group of people that were slaughtering his brethren, okay, his countrymen, and also literally jailed his fucking leaders. They didn't even give a shit. The Banderites targeted Ukrainians who openly opposed the fascist platform too, and they were jailed too. That's the other part. They considered you to be a dog, and you fucking volunteered with the people who thought you were a dog. You were worthless. They jailed your fucking leaders. The biggest L of all time, thinking these guys are totally going to give us liberation. According to researchers, during 1943 to 1945, about 4.5 million Ukrainians became Red Army soldiers. After June 1944, 33% of the Soviet Red Army consisted of Ukrainians. The losses of Ukrainian people during World War II account for 19 to 35% of total USSR loss. Unimaginable amounts of sacrifice. Millions of Ukrainians served in the Red Army, with thousands of generals and officers being Ukrainian. About 100,000 served as fascist collaborators, and this is who the West remembers exactly. It's harder to find, if we're looking at it objectively from just a mathematical conundrum, it is quite literally harder to find fascist collaborators than those who served under the Red Army, okay? And yet, the West still seems to take on that mountainous burden, that unimaginable task, and they still end up somehow finding the fucking Nazis to prop up. That is crazy to me. The history is complicated. It's not. However, the idea of foreign volunteers and conscripts were being allocated to the Waffen-SS rather than the Wehrmacht on administrative rather than ideological grounds is a hard sell for audiences to believe the SS's primary task was genocide. Whoa. This guy isn't just doing propaganda for this one specific Ukrainian. He's doing propaganda for the entire SS. And simple narratives like everybody in the SS was guilty of war crimes are more pervasive because they're much simpler to grasp. That's awesome. That Politico wrote an article in Politico EU where this possibly is illegal, for the record, okay? That like we moved on from the clean Wehrmacht theory to the clean SS theory. It's not just that like, oh, the Wehrmacht, like, well, those guys, they were just following orders and they should not have actually been put to the task. This motherfucker said actually the SS was good as well. Some people. Canada's enemies have thus latched on to the simple narratives alongside concerned citizens in Canada itself, with the misstep over Hunka being used by Russia and its backers. Like, the misstep over Hunka being used by Russia and its fucking backers, brother, he's a Nazi. And the Canadian Parliament propped him up. Like, your worldview has to be so distorted. We are now at a point where it's just like straight up. I'm so horny to be anti-USSR, anti-socialist, anti-communist that I'm actually handing it to the fucking Nazis moment. According to Russia's ambassador in Canada, Hunka's unit committed multiple war crimes, according to him, including mass murder against the Russian people. Ethnic Russians is a proven fact. But whenever a Russian official calls something a proven fact, it should set off alarms. Oh my God, he's literally just doing propaganda for the Waffen-SS Galicia division, which was heavily, well, like this kind of stuff. You're at this point, you're literally just doing straight up Holocaust denial. This article is doing Holocaust denial. Repeated exhaustive investigations, including by not only the Nuremberg trials, but also the British, Canadian, and even Soviet authorities, led to the conclusion that no war crimes or atrocities had been committed by this particular unit. That's false. The judgment in Nuremberg against major war criminals found that all persons who had been officially accepted as members of the SS after 1st September 1939 were declared criminal according to Article 6 of the Charter, with the exception of those who were drafted into membership by the state and did not commit crimes. Members of the 14th Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS were volunteers and members of the SS. They were also found guilty of the war crimes by the head of the Commission for Prosecution of Crimes Against the Polish Nation and the Institute of History at the Ukrainian Academy of Scientists. No individual among the enlisted men of the 14th have yet been prosecuted or individually for any war crimes. By the end of the war, most of the officers of the 14th were either killed or missing. That's it. So Hunka could still be processed? Yes. Poland, as a matter of fact, has asked to extradite Hunka to Poland to be tried for his Nazi war crimes, which would be fucking fire. They should do that. If Canada wants to make right for their obvious wrongs in this regard, they should start extraditing all of the Ukrainian Nazis to Poland and have them be tried, because that is what is just. But this is just the latest twist in a long time running campaign. Yeah, this is actually Russian propaganda. Like, brother, you're doing Nazi Germany propaganda while talking about Russian propaganda. Did the Russian government immediately take advantage of this? Yes, they did. Why do you hand a dub to the Russians in this regard? And why, instead of re-examining how horny you were to be so anti-Russian that you're doing Nazi propaganda, that you're still running along with a narrative that further solidifies your perspective as like someone who's a Nazi defender and a Holocaust revisionist, instead of just going, yeah, we fucked up, we should extradite this guy. The result of all of this is that otherwise intelligent people are now trying to outdo each other in the course of evidence-free condemnation. Yeah, this guy's doing like the Russell Brand defender style defense, but for a Nazi. Just he's like, oh man, there's no evidence here. Oh, this is cancel culture. I can't believe they're doing cancel culture. There's no evidence that this fucking Nazi who volunteered This fucking Nazi who volunteered for the Waffen-SS actually did any Waffen-SS type Nazi crimes, even though technically he is, a Nazi. Wow. Pretty sure this article is illegal in Germany and Austria. Yeah.